Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Housing Facility Services Committee meeting. We are real pleased that you are joining us today. This really is a time that we would like to share with you a little bit more about what the Housing Facility Services Committee does and some of the work that has been taking place and introduce you to our leadership. Housing Facility Services Committee really is just charged with focusing on the work of the housing facilities professionals and helping that work move forward together and supporting that group in the different needs that evolve over time. We have a number of subcommittees that make up this group, focusing on different areas of our work. And so I'm going to ask each of our chairs to share a little bit more about their area and ways that you could engage with that group. I'll turn it over to Aubrey.
Thanks, Teresa. So hello, everyone. My name's Aubrey Smith. I am the logistics manager for The Ohio State University, but I also serve as the chair for the programming committee for this conference. So my co-chair, JJ, was not able to join us quite yet, but if you'd like to join our committee, we have a couple different things that we do. So the program committee does exactly what it sounds like. We review the programs, we reach out to folks and colleagues, we brainstorm ideas of programs and then try to find people to present those programs so that we can make sure that the conference is interesting and includes things that we all want to learn about. We are also looking for people to join the conference committee, which also plans the conference usually when it's in person. Obviously, it's been looking a little different the past couple of years, but we're hopeful we're going to get back to that very soon. So if that's something that you're interested in, JJ's email and my email are both up on the screen. So we would love to have you be a part of the programming or the conference committee, or both. It is not a huge time commitment. And again, happy to answer more questions if that's something you're interested in.
Thank you, Aubrey. Are there any questions for Aubrey at this time? And I do want to make sure I take a moment to encourage folks to utilize the chat function. This really is a collaborative time that we have today. We are sharing a lot about the group, but one of the things that's really important to us as we connect is that this is a resource. And so if there are questions that you have that are about the committee or just something you want to ask colleagues about, we want to make sure that we utilize this time in that way. And we'll share a little bit towards the end about what our monthly meetings look like and that colleague collaboration. All right. Thank you again, Aubrey. Steve McKenzie from the University of Oregon. Steve, would you share with us a little more about education and resources?
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon what part of the country you're in. So the Education and Resources Committee, in the past we've done some things as far as we were pretty integral in the development of a best practices initiative. We were kind of looking at starting to do some updates on that when COVID hit and all heck went to a handbasket. Not fun. Other things that we've done is we've looked into doing some white paper work on the back and forth and the bigger issue as far as probably kind of a sensitive issue as far as main campus facilities absorbing housing facilities into their under their umbrella and what that looks like, and really trying to develop a program on questions to ask that we would hope would be asked, before those decisions are made by institutions. So those are some of the things. Committee is always looking for membership. Again, not a lot has been done over the last really a year and a half, 2 years with this group with the COVID situation, but I'm looking forward to really trying to get this committee reinstituted. restaffed and new members onto it, and new direction to work with the other subcommittees of the housing facilities umbrella, to really see what we can do to support and provide some of that educational and resource initiatives for the new world as we see it today, or as best as we see it today, because it'll probably change come 2022. So a little bit of background. Thank you and welcome. It's a good group today.
Yeah. Steve, I'm not sure I caught it. Did you talk about the APA fee waiver?
Oh, no, I did not. Sorry.
Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Going forward again is the face-to-face APA conferences, not only the ACULI conferences, but APA conferences start to become face-to-face again. The APA organization twice a year has their Institute for Facilities Management, and they have agreed to, in the past, they've given us 2 fee waiver passes. So we put out and we asked for submissions, and as part of that program for individuals who would like to receive a fee waiver. And it's pretty substantial. In the past, it's about a $1,400 waiver to attend the conference. One of the institutes that they have, usually January, February, and typically in September. Where they're going to be this year or this upcoming year, I don't know yet. But the Education and Resource Committee is responsible for putting that program out there, and then doing the review of the interested applicants to make decisions on who will be the lucky participant and recipient of those fee waivers.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Can folks kind of show either through a reaction or in the chat if you have participated in the Facilities Institute? Would love to see what kind of participation we've had. Great. Gary, thanks for sharing. Gary, would you mind, I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you mind sharing with the group what that experience was like for you?
Well, for sure, Teresa. I have to take a moment to remember because it's been a long time since I've
Yeah. And so there are 4 different tracks that folks can participate in. And it's a great program. And it really gives you a deep dive into some areas, but I'll turn that back over to you, Gary.
Well, it does. I mean, you get 4 programs, and they'll focus on various aspects of facilities management. Nothing too deep and technical, but it's more of a management perspective from each one. So, staffing and then mechanical, electrical, that kind of thing. And but I will tell you this, that it is singularly the best thing that I ever did as a professional when I decided to get into the housing facilities realm. Going to that institute and gaining the knowledge that they impart. They have some great faculty. They take seriously their faculty selections, and they present a wonderful slate of programs. It takes, there's 4, like I said, 4, one each week for 4 weeks over the 2-year period. But what it did is it aligned you in a really great way to then sit for the CEFP exam, in which you become a certified education facilities professional. You don't necessarily have to go to the institute to take the exam, but it will set you up. A lot of people like me came into the facilities world not knowing a whole heck of a lot about facilities. I was a res life guy, and I kind of gravitated toward the facilities end and made it my professional choice for my career. But I did that on the basis of my interaction with APA and this particular institute. So I encourage anyone interested in doing that to go. I encourage you, if you have staff who are interested in making the facilities management their career choice, to go. If you are in a residence life department where you've got people who are struggling to understand the facilities realm a little bit or want to know more about it, it's a great way to indoctrinate themselves into what it takes to actually manage and run facilities from a campus perspective. It's not just for housing people. Housing people show up with this thing. And it really is for campus facilities management folks. It's high end, it's really great. And I can't express how much it really meant to me and it meant to my colleagues who I've known who've gone through it as well.
Thank you, Gary. That's a great endorsement.
Teresa, Teresa, real quick. Can
Yes,
I
sir.
expand on that a little bit? So we talk about, and everything that Gary says is absolutely true. If you have the opportunity to go to the institutes, not only are the sessions just extremely valuable, whether you're on the campus side or the housing side of facilities, but the networking involved with the individuals that you'll meet and have the chance to talk with at coffee breaks and after hours and stuff, is that in itself is well worth the fee. So we talk about the 4 core areas there. It covers, really general administration, energy and utilities, the capital planning part of life, and then the operations and maintenance. So it's a real strong program driven like that. Those 4 core areas also lead into the APA program. That's the Certified Educational Facilities Professional, of which also has they have a certification program where they do webinars to help you prepare to take that test, which again is very valuable. And if you really kind of watch job postings out there, that qualification and that certification comes across as really as a preferred qualification for some of these jobs. So I encourage everyone to really follow on the APA side as well.
I need to just point out that the networking part of that, I'm remiss for not saying it, because I knew Lander before I went to the first one. But it was really at one of these facilities institutes that I started discussing the idea of the APA Kuhoi Housing Facilities Conference, and came up with the plan to do that. And all of that was made possible by just exposing ourselves out there to the networking possibilities that are congruent with all of that. So I would encourage you to do it. The credentialing is a big part of this now. It makes a big difference on your career path if you choose to stay here, and I can't advocate enough for it.
Great. Thank you both so much for sharing on that. Really appreciate it. So if that is something you're particularly interested in, please make sure you've made note of Steve's contact information, and we will make sure that information goes out through the online community when our next application period is available. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dee Dee from the University of Idaho to share more about our Committee for the Recruitment of Minorities and Women in Housing Facilities, the longest title we have. Oh, I can't hear you, Dee Dee.
The famous line of the last 18 months, you're on mute. Sorry about that, everyone. Good day. Dee Dee Knickerberg, pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the Director of Housing and Residence Life at the University of Idaho. And not only do we have the longest title, but we are actually the newest subcommittee under the Housing Facility Services Committee umbrella. And I want to give all credit due to my Northwest colleague of Leonard Jones at Western Washington University, who was the founder of the committee and one of our more recent Parthenon recipients. So shout out to Leonard for that. Our committee is about creating a space for dialogue, support, and of course, connections. Our pilot initiative that we did, we were ready to launch it just as the pandemic began. And so we sort of put it on pause, but as things started to kind of open up a little bit, we did try to launch and did just a very small initiative in really trying to connect folks who identify as women and identify as staff of color within the facilities operations area. And so we basically did a mentor-mentee connection and tried to, again, make those connections, albeit it was a very small initial pilot. And we did connect a few folks out there. So that's something obviously moving forward that the committee would love the committee to discuss whether we want to keep that initiative up. And continue to recruit for both mentors and mentees. So I would welcome any staff that are interested in having a space where they can feel comfortable, they can have conversations, no judgments, a lot of dialogue, just in supporting one another. And I think it was Teresa yesterday that mentioned, a place that, during the opening panel that, you're not alone. When we started having those roundtables at the in-person sessions, it was, there was a lot of experiences that were shared, and we tried to provide support for folks and give them solutions and alternatives and at least connections that, should they want to talk over a situation that was happening on their campus, they had those connections. So that's what I see. Any new ideas are welcome. We can certainly bring in new initiatives, but we had just been providing a space and really launching that pilot mentor-mentee program. So that's what we've been up to during the last 18, 19 months. So would welcome folks to join us. Just love connecting with folks. And again, I've really appreciated all the connections I've been able to make through participation in this Housing Facility Services Committee.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Are there any questions for Dee Dee?
No, I'll just expand on the importance of this committee. We talk about it being a pilot when Leonard started this up, and then Teresa had it for a bit. And when she first had it, we took it to a roundtable at one of the conferences and had planned for, a small group. And we ended up with, I don't know, Teresa, 60 or 70 individuals that showed up to participate in that roundtable. It was amazing. And I probably unexpected for that turnout, but that just goes to show the importance of what this committee can do.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that support. And Dee Dee, great summary of the good work that your team has been doing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about our communication committee. And Joel is unable to join us today, but I'm going to jump in and share a little bit about this group. Our communication committee really works to connect the members of our group and to keep folks informed. And so that really is keeping folks engaged in the online community, specifically focused on facilities, and then also just keeping us on point and aware of our upcoming meetings and opportunities to connect. And so I'm going to post in the chat a link to the form for folks. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, give me a second. So I'm going to put in there a link to the form that is on the screen, so that way you can easily click it. There we go. All right. And so if you are interested in any of the groups that we've talked about so far today, or ones that we're getting ready to talk about, I would just ask that you fill out that form. And that does not commit you to anything. We are not going to be sending you, calling you and saying, hey, we want your 5 hours. That's not it at all. This is a volunteer opportunity. And we would just love to connect with you in any way. And it could just be that you jump in twice a year, and that's totally fine. Or you just jump in to say, hey, I'm struggling with a particular problem and would love to talk to folks about that. This is really an experience that you design. And so I just want to make sure folks know that. We, of course, have opportunities if you're looking for a higher level of engagement. But if you would click on that link, fill out that form, then each of our committee leads get that information and they'll loop you into when they have their next meetings or events specific to that work. Any questions on that? And then there's my plug for the online community app that is available. So if you prefer to use that instead of being at your computer, there's another way to easily connect with the group. Okay, I am now going to turn it over to Lisa Alexander, who is the chair of our Akuho'ai Sustainability Advisory Committee. So this committee operates separate from the Housing Facility Services Committee, but our work is very related. And so we have asked Lisa to join us today to share more about that work and how we can connect with her. Lisa?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invite. So I'm Lisa. I am the chair of the Akuho'ai Sustainability Advisory Committee. I'm the coordinator for sustainability programs for the Department of Resident Life at the University of Maryland College Park. So the Sustainability Advisory Committee meets monthly for roundtables where we share resources and ideas around sustainability. So it includes a number of things, and this is an exhaustive list, but things around built environment and site design, equity and sustainability, student involvement, educational campaigns, program development, and even event planning. We also are working on some projects together as well. And this includes written content, webinars, and maintaining updated online resources that can help answer what does every housing professional need to know about sustainability, and why is sustainability important to our work as housing professionals? I think traditionally we've done, or some folks may have interacted with the sustainability scene, which was a newsletter that the committee had produced. We're taking a pause on that for a little bit just to kind of figure out more so what are some projects that we need to work on that are pretty pressing right now. And one of those in particular is updating some of the web resources that we have on Akuho'ai related to sustainability, and then also maybe get back up and running some webinars and things being put out that talk about sustainability and educate our members. Our next meeting is November 17th. It's a Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you're interested in our group, you can let me know. My email, my email is on the screen. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions for Lisa at this time? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Committee Liaison, Josh Ganna. I don't think, I can't hear you, Josh.
How about now? All right, the perils of the home office switching between devices. Greetings from Seattle. On behalf of the Akuho'ai Executive Board, I just wanted to thank everybody for attending and participating both in this conference and in this meeting, and to Teresa and Lisa and the rest of the subcommittee chairs for their leadership in this important work. Committees are one of the easiest and best ways to get involved in the work of the association, and I really believe that is where the work of Akuho'ai happens. It's where the rubber meets the road, and you can have a pretty substantial impact on the direction of our work with relatively little or a lot of effort, depending on your preference. So this is a great opportunity. We have some really strong energy spinning up in all of our areas as we come out of the pandemic and try to kind of rethink how we're delivering programs and services on our campuses and in the association. We also, at the Akuho'ai level, have the leadership recruitment cycle going right now. And so we're working to develop some depth and succession planning in our committee chair roles at the high level. And so there are chair-elect tracks available for both the Sustainability and the Housing Facility Services Committee. There's also a link on this. I'm going to post the link in the chat box. But on the side of that, there's also just a general committee interest form link where you can get on the books with the Akuho'ai, and then they'll route that to the respective chairs and try to get you involved and hooked in. So I would welcome any questions you have for me. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to Teresa.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for sharing that link in the chat. So I would encourage folks to take a look at that. So if there are other groups that you would like to connect with beyond this really fantastic one, that's a great link to follow. Okay, seeing no questions right now, we'll keep moving. All right, I wanted to take a moment to kind of share with folks what our meetings have looked like for the past 18 months. Prior to COVID, we would meet monthly and we would really share the work of each of the subcommittees. We continued to do that during COVID, but we also knew that there was a need to connect a little bit more and to really dive into some conversation about a lot of different topics. We can talk to our colleagues locally about what's going on, but we wanted to really provide more of some breadth to the resources and the brainstorming that was taking place. And so we really spent most of our time the last 18 months in these meetings just talking about what folks wanted to talk about. And our committee leadership really guided some of that, but it was also driven by membership and the different questions that would be sent in advance that folks wanted to talk about. So this is kind of what things looked like for the team. Some of our stuff was very COVID specific. Folks wanted to talk about how we were handling restroom cleaning, how we were working with vendors to enter spaces during that period of time. But we also still needed to continue to talk about the regular work. So this is an example of one of those discussion topics we had. Traditional keys versus electronic access. What does that mean on the different campuses? And so we had a good conversation specifically on this topic here. And so just wanted folks to kind of get a little bit of the flavor of our conversation and how we can be a resource. We also talked about special requests. This one may not come up very often, but we had a committee member who was like, I really need to know, what are folks doing with all of these special requests that we get prior to opening? And so this was a good way for us to see is there a different way to handle those requests? And so just wanted to share again, it's anything that we are facing in our daily work. Let's help each other navigate through it. And of course, I think Steve touched on this one. This is one of those topics that continues to appear and will continue to appear for us as campuses continue to look at how do we find efficiencies, how do we work best, and so we did talk about centralized facilities and how that is working on different campuses. We also talk about supply chain, and that has looked different at different points over the past 12 plus months. We talked about electrostatic sprayers and who folks were having success in getting them from. We talked about the glove market. There were some periods of time where our vendors were really struggling to get gloves and prices were escalating. And so that was one of the things we talked about. Who's a good supplier that you've been able to connect with, hand sanitizer, we're able to get creative. And it also allowed those of us who weren't experiencing the issue yet to kind of have a heads up to start preparing. So just wanted to share a little bit more about what that looks like. If you would like to join us, again, I put that link in the chat. Would love for you to fill that form out so we can get you connected with the group. Once you're in that loop, we would send you emails for our monthly meetings. Again, it's no pressure. I would also encourage you to share that link with your staff. Folks that may not have chosen to be here, we are really welcoming of all facility staff. So we're not just looking for leadership folks, we're looking for frontline staff to join in the work as well to make sure that we're getting them connected. Josh also mentioned that we're looking for our leadership pipeline. And so if you would be interested in serving in the chair-elect role for this group, that link is also listed there on the screen for folks to apply. Our next meeting is November 15th. We meet the third Monday of every month at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to do something different for our November meeting. We are actually going to have a panel discussion. And so we're going to have about 4 panelists, and we are going to talk about furniture. We're going to talk about how folks make their selection, what their renewal plan looks like, what are those key things they consider when they make their selections, what are some factors in the procurement process, and what are some different ways folks have looked at procurement to be successful in managing that piece. And so in addition to these roundtable types of meetings that we've had, we're also going to make a little bit of shift and rotate in some panel discussions to be topic specific and do a deeper dive with some of our fellow professional experts. So would hope that if you have an interest in that, or someone on your team would have a particular interest, please invite them. And it could be, as Gary talked about, we might have some res ed folks that are interested in putting their toe in the water of facilities. And so please share with them as well to help start opening those doors and that raising that awareness. All right, I want to open it up now to any questions that folks have. We really just wanted to share who we are, what we're here to do, and see if there's anything that we can do for others. Okay, well, we don't have to hang on if no one has any questions, but I do want to make sure I thank our committee leadership. This is a really great group, and I hope you will consider joining us. Aubrey and Dee Dee and Steve and JJ and Joel and Josh do great work, Lisa as well. And so appreciate the work of these individuals. Gary, appreciate you. You are a leader in this area of housing, and we all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So thank you, sir, for your work as well. Wish you all best in the conference. Jump on to the next sessions, and we hope to see you in November.